Every scar is a crown. They threw you into the fire, convinced the flames would erase your name. They whispered that this was the end of you. They watched, waiting for you to collapse, to beg, to disappear into the ash. But look at you now. You're still standing. And the fire didn't burn you the way they hoped. It branded you. It marked you. It crowned you. Because every scar you carry is a crown. They thought pain would make you smaller. They thought betrayal would fold your spine. That loss would drain your voice. That heartbreak would teach you silence. They pushed you into the darkest chapter of your life and stepped back, certain they'd never hear from you again. Do you remember that moment? That night when the weight was so heavy it pressed the air out of your chest. When your thoughts were louder than your heartbeat. When the world felt cold, unforgiving, and indifferent. They looked at you then and saw weakness, but they didn't see what was forming underneath the wounds. They didn't see the crown being forged. They expected you to stay down. They expected you to become a cautionary tale, a broken story they could point to and say, "See, this is what happens." They expected your eyes to lose their fire, your steps to slow, your voice to tremble. They expected silence. Instead, you learned to breathe in chaos. You learned to stand while bleeding. You learned to survive nights that were designed to destroy you. They thought you were fragile, but fragility doesn't survive what you survived. You weren't spared from pain. You walked through it. You weren't protected from betrayal. You faced it head on. You weren't saved by luck. You were saved by something far stronger, your will. And while they slept comfortably, assuming your story was over, you were rewriting yourself in the dark, line by line, scar by scar. Pain didn't arrive politely. It kicked down your door. It took things you loved. It tested promises you believed in. It stripped you of illusions and left you face to face with reality. And for a while, you were lost. You questioned yourself. You replayed conversations. You wondered if you were the problem. But somewhere between the tears and the silence, something shifted. You realized the pain wasn't asking for your surrender. It was demanding your evolution. So you adapted. You learned how to be alone without being lonely. You learned how to sit with your thoughts instead of running from them. You learned how to build strength where comfort used to live. Every night you survived added another layer. Every disappointment sharpened your vision. Every scar became a reminder that you endured. You stopped asking, "Why me?" and started asking, "What now?" That question changed everything. You walked through fire long enough to stop fearing it. The flames no longer screamed. They whispered. They didn't chase you. They followed behind, illuminating your path. You discovered that darkness isn't empty. It's a classroom. And every lesson was brutal, but necessary. You learned who was real. You learned who only loved you when it was easy. You learned that not everyone deserves access to your heart. And with each realization, something old died. The version of you that begged for validation. The version of you that explained yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. The version of you that confused love with sacrifice. You buried them quietly. And you rose, different. Not softer, not colder. Sharper. That's when they noticed. They saw the change in your eyes, the calm that doesn't flinch. They heard it in your voice, the steadiness that doesn't seek approval. They felt it in your presence, the power that doesn't announce itself, and it unsettled them. Because you didn't come back begging, you didn't come back angry, you came back unbothered. Did they really think you'd stay broken? They expected revenge. They expected bitterness. They expected noise. Instead, they got silence, and silence is terrifying to those who depend on your reaction. They started watching you more closely, comparing themselves to you, wondering how you survived what they couldn't. They saw your scars, and they mistook them for weakness until they realized something far too late. Those scars were proof of survival, proof of resilience, proof of victory. Those scars were crowns. You stopped explaining yourself. You stopped proving your worth. You stopped carrying guilt that was never yours. And in that space, where approval once lived, peace took its place. Not loud peace, not flashy peace. A deep, unshakable stillness. You move differently now. You chose differently now. You love differently now. You learned that strength isn't about how much you can endure. It's about knowing when to walk away. You learned that healing doesn't always look like happiness. It often looks like boundaries. And every time you honored yourself, the crown grew heavier. Not heavier with burden, heavier with authority. Storms still came, but you were no longer afraid of the rain. You understood that storms cleanse what stagnates. They expose what's weak. They leave behind clarity. While others ran for cover, you stood still, grounded. You didn't need to be louder than them. You didn't need to win every argument. You didn't need to be understood. You needed to be free, and freedom arrived quietly when you stopped fighting who you were becoming. You looked at your scars one by one, not with shame, with respect. Each one marked a battle you survived. Each one whispered, "You didn't quit." And suddenly you saw it clearly. They weren't marks of damage. They were decorations of honor. Crowns earned in private wars. They expected you to break. Instead, you mastered yourself. They expected you to hate them. Instead, you outgrew them. And nothing confuses an enemy more than irrelevance. You no longer reacted to their words. You no longer flinched at their absence. You no longer measured yourself by their standards. You became your own witness, your own validation, your own home. That's when they felt it. The distance, not physical distance, spiritual distance. You were no longer accessible, and that hurt them more than any confrontation ever could. Because peace is a language they never learned. Look at you now, standing taller, speaking less, but meaning more. Carrying scars that shine brighter than the crowns they chased. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You don't need closure from people who never understood your value. You are not the person they hurt. You are the person who survived it. And survival didn't make you bitter. It made you sovereign. You walk with the quiet confidence of someone who has faced their worst fear and lived. You are no longer becoming. You are. And every scar on your body, every crack in your past, every wound in your memory is proof that you were forged, not broken. Every scar is a crown. So when they look at you now, confused, regretful, wondering how you escaped, let them. You don't owe them an explanation. You owe yourself respect. Wear your scars without apology. Wear your past without shame. Wear your strength without fear. Because kings and queens aren't born untouched. They are crowned by fire. And you didn't just survive the storm. You became it.